Welcome to the Nailsin Ratings. Well, looks like Suicide Squad 2 is still a thing. Imagine that, yeah. And the latest is that James Gunn, formerly of the Marvel Universe movies with Guardians of the Galaxy, will be joining the DC Universe in the movies for the sequel to Suicide Squad. Now, gee, why would he jump ship? Well, if you recall, he got caught making fun of pedophilia. And a handful of jokes here and there that were talked about that one of the problems with them was that they weren't so much jokes as just very bizarre and weird and not much of a punchline, so it got really creepy. Plus the his friendship with a guy who was busted with kiddie porn, and then the pictures of him at a To Catch a Predator party where he's dressed up as a priest. Yeah, that's taking it way beyond just a few jokes. Plus he deleted 10,000 tweets. Boy, that's the one, huh? What was so bad in there? It might have been worse than what anyone found. But anyway, Disney, that put them in a spot, so he had to get the boot, and that was that. And so now Warner Brothers, showing once again they don't know what they're doing, decided, hey, why don't you come here and do some Marvel magic for our movies? Yeah, that worked out great with Joss Whedon, didn't it? Yeah. It's not magic, it's good stories. And it's also having a plan and sticking to it. Once you've decided, you don't change course right in the middle of it, the 11th hour of your production. But anyway, so on the other hand, Suicide Squad is probably more in line with a guy like James Gunn. He might actually be able to do a movie that's not bad, but I don't know. It was a bit dead in the water because even though the original made its money, it just wasn't any good. Suicide Squad came along. It was a slap job. It was hurried and rushed, and boy, does it show. And it was thrown out there in the midst of, there was a huge amount of hype before Batman versus Superman, just the leading up to it. And then everyone was kind of let down by it, and people were mad, and that was it. They had their moment, and it passed, and they blew it. Only Wonder Woman managed to succeed, which is, you would think Wonder Woman would have been hurt by all of these, but Wonder Woman is just a damn good film, and it shows that if you would just make a damn good film, you could move on from these disasters. But hopefully Aquaman will prove to be that. But Suicide Squad, it started off, I thought, okay, as far as the introduction of their characters. I didn't have a problem with the cast. There was something, hey, Deadshot's not black. Yeah, we go through this, but what are you going to do? And Will Smith, he did his job. So that was all fine. I was a little sick to death of the constant rock songs playing over and over again, which is just lazy, and it's an old, tired template seen a million times by now. That wasn't any good. But anyway, the first half of it is fine. Then you get to the rest of the movie, and you discover there is no plot. It's just them walking around and talking, and Harley Quinn missing the Joker. The Joker shows up here and there, and then finally, he gets her in the end. But and then ultimately, the Enchantress is the villain, and it ends up like the ending of the Ghostbusters, the original. So that was about it. It was really bad, and it is the absolute worst of the DCEU. A lot of people, no, it's Batman vs Superman. No, it's not. This one is the worst of the batch. And it's too bad. Like I said, they had a good cast. I think they could have done something interesting to it. What could they have done? Well, right off the bat, the Joker should have been the villain. You're going after the Joker. He's done something, and you need a crack team to go in there, and you have to have a reason why you can't just send special forces in, because basically, yeah, you've got the Enchantress and El Dorado, or El Diablo, I mean. Those two were the only ones who had any real powers. And the premise where Amanda Waller, who was excellently cast, by the way, I think they should make more use of her and have her be in other movies when they do this connected business. But anyway, the premise of it was, hey, what if Superman had gone rogue? You would have needed some sort of contingency or some kind of defense. You need this team to take him on. That team wouldn't stand a chance against Superman. Just wipe them all out. Hey, Deadshot's the best shot in the world. He can't miss. So what? It's Superman. The only one who would have been a challenge to him was the Enchantress, and you can't control her. So the Joker should have been the villain in the story. Because you've got this team, and most notably Harley Quinn, all the rage of Harley Quinn, which, to tell you the truth, I can't quite figure out. She was a great character in the 90s cartoon as a recurring character. When she becomes the center of attention, she just becomes annoying. And I'm not really that big of a fan of Deadpool either, but one Deadpool's enough. And another problem here is, so you were going to send Harley Quinn up against Superman. No. You needed a more believable and credible plot of why you would bother to go get just some woman who's crazy and obsessed with a psychopathic killer, and is a psychopathic killer herself, and all she does is, well, she carries a bat. Yeah, that's really not anything special. So the idea would be, if the Joker is the villain that you're trying to get to, you need to recruit Harley Quinn because she's the one who can help you find him. And this was a plot that actually happened in an animated feature, which wasn't much better, but plot-wise, it was leaps and bounds superior to the live-action movie. And since you were going to have the cameos of Batman in it, you could have done pretty much like what the animated movie did, where Batman is actually involved in this, where he's looking for the Joker himself. Probably have to have a little more footage involved with Ben Affleck being there, but nevertheless, he wouldn't be as present as the main cast. And that would make for a plot. Now, what would the Joker do? And when you have a plan and you're mapping out your overall universe, which would mostly deal with cameos, which is what they did, and Easter eggs and that sort of thing, and that's fine. But to make it better, the whole plot of the movie is you got to stop the Joker. They stop him in the end. But what was he doing? What did he have? There were two possibilities. He stole the body of Superman. There was a plot to resurrect him, and that would go into the plot where Steppenwolf and Darkseid were going to try to make him into a bad Superman and all that. Or the Mother Box. And the Mother Box, there was actually some scenes from the Wonder Woman movie where they referred to it, and they cut that out. But that was something you should have had more of, and there they get a hold of it, and the Joker has it, and he's possibly going to sell it to some other villain we could introduce in the storyline and all that, but it doesn't come through because he gets caught. But nevertheless, that would set up things for the DCU and the universe, and when you finally get to the Justice League, it's more of a fleshed out ordeal, similar to what Marvel did, but it's an idea of an overall narrative that's just not really there. It was meant to be. Obviously, the New Gods were going to be a part of this, but they just didn't map it out very well, and so Suicide Squad was just a waste of time. And so hopefully they've learned that lesson, and if the movies going forward are good, Aquaman doesn't need to have all this kind of stuff going on in it. It just needs to do well to keep this thing alive, and hopefully it can. So the stories about what Gunn might do, and they talked about some plots where they might put the Suicide Squad up against Deathstroke, which you got a cameo of him in the Justice League movie. And that might be kind of interesting. But another one that's even more interesting to me, because it kind of recalls back to what I've been talking about here, where they go up against Black Adam, or they're looking for him, and they inadvertently release him, or something along those lines. And then there's Black Adam. Hopefully it would turn out better than the Scorpion King was in the second Mummy movie. because the Scorpion King was just another slap job of a movie that was a Conan the Barbarian wannabe. He doesn't turn into the scorpion monster that he did in the Mummy movie, but what the hell was that? I don't know. So this could keep going with this narrative, and then Black Adam, eventually you have a Shazam versus Black Adam film down the road. So that's interesting, and hopefully, maybe, that is their plot. At least have some idea of where you're going, and that would gain some interest here. But the fact that it would not be revealed to be Black Adam until the very end or something like that could be an interesting thing, where you have this team that has to violate the sovereignty of some other country. Maybe they'll introduce the Kondak country, which is the fictional Middle Eastern country that Black Adam comes from, and that sort of thing, which is the kindest, black ops missions that Suicide Squad's supposed to do for the government. So if they get caught, the government can just say, they weren't working for us, they're just a bunch of criminals, and then that's that, is the plausible deniability, and that's the selling point of Suicide Squad. So that would be a good one going forward, and it would help to set up the narrative for their DCEU without having too much stuff to where you have to see this and you have to see that to understand it. You can make that work where it does help future movies, but it's not necessary to have seen them all, that sort of thing. It can be hard to do in some areas, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, it's insurmountable. No, it's not. So this would be an interesting plot, and maybe they'll go forward. As for James Gunn, he's pretty radioactive at the moment, but he does have the talent for directing films and that sort of thing, and sort of these trashy characters would be more his element. But I don't know, I was not that wowed by the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, so I don't know that Warner Brothers has to take this risk of a damaged guy like this when your own brand is pretty bruised and battered. So was it a good idea? Probably not. It's not that he can't do it, it's just that there's this creepiness about him. Is it totally fair? I don't really know. But 10,000 tweets? I don't know. I'm biased toward DC. I want to see them do well. I like competitive environments, and I prefer that there be a competitor to Marvel. And but so far, that's not the case. So I don't know. We'll see. So there you go. That is my review and looking back at Suicide Squad, which I've been doing these. I'll be doing Wonder Woman next. I've done Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, and we'll deal with that then. But with this news today that James Gunn will probably be doing the sequel, I thought I'd, weave that into it. So there you go. Thank you for watching and listening. Say, why not like and subscribe? And hey, check out those links below, because they'll lead you to my mini stores that have plenty of lovely goodies for you. Bye-bye.